I wasn't looking for anything. That's the part that still sticks with me. I wasn't suspicious, I wasn't digging. I wasn't playing detective with some hunch. It was a regular Thursday evening, and I was just trying to keep the house in order while Haley finished up a Zoom call in the other room. She worked late a lot these days. That used to bother me. I'd wait up, try to make dinner, try to be romantic. But recently I'd stopped. Not out of resentment, just exhaustion. So laundry. It was my turn to sort it, fold it, and try to do something right. I was going through the usual routine. Our bed covered in clothes, sports highlights mumbling from the TV down the hall, the faint scent of that new citrus detergent she started buying. I didn't mind it. It reminded me of how she used to smell when we first started dating. The shirts were folded, socks paired. Then I grabbed one of her sweaters off the floor near the dresser and spotted a flash of red sticking out from under it. Something glossy, almost metallic, tucked behind the bottom drawer. It didn't look like something she'd usually leave around. The bag was fancy, black matte paper with gold rope handles, the kind of packaging you get from one of those overpriced boutique stores that makes you feel guilty for even walking in. It was hidden, kind of, not obvious, but not shoved all the way under either. Like it was meant to be forgotten but not permanently. Curiosity got the better of me. I bent down, pulled it out, and opened the top. That's when I found it. A deep Berg *NDY lace set, bra and underwear, matching. Intricate floral lacework. Delicate straps, gold clasps, satin trim. Expensive. I knew it wasn't from any of the brands she normally shopped at. Not Victoria's Secret, not Aerie. This was something high-end. Imported, maybe. European tag still half-clipped to the inside of the bra strap, like someone had tried to remove it in a hurry and given up halfway. But the tag wasn't the only thing that caught my attention. It wasn't fresh out of the store. The tissue paper was rumpled. The bra had a subtle crease, like it had been worn and refolded. Same with the bottoms. Just enough to tell me they weren't brand new. I stared at it for a long time, not moving. I didn't buy this. That part echoed over and over again. Sounds simple, but when you've been with someone for nearly a decade, that fact feels like a loud bell in your head. You know what you've given them. You remember every gift. You remember how they reacted, where you bought it, when you gave it. And I had never bought this. I didn't even know she owned anything like this. "Haley," I called out. She didn't answer right away. Her voice came from the hallway a few seconds later, slightly distracted. "Yeah. Can you come here for a second?" Another pause. Then the soft pad of her footsteps approaching. She came around the corner still in her work clothes. Gray cardigan, hair up, glasses on. She looked a little tired, but still polished, like always. When she saw what I was holding, her expression froze. Just for a split second. Flash. Most people wouldn't have noticed it, but I did. Her smile appeared right after, a little too fast. "Oh my God," she said, laughing like it was a scene from a sitcom. "That? Seriously?" I didn't say anything. I just kept holding it, my hand still. "It's from the girls," she continued, stepping further into the room and waving her hand dismissively. "We did that ridiculous gift game for Megan's bachelorette weekend. Remember? Everyone had to bring the, spiciest lingerie they could find. Total joke. That one was meant for me." Her tone was light, playful, like she was almost embarrassed I'd found it but thought it was cute. I kept my voice level. "Wasn't that 3 months ago?" She blinked. "Yeah. So why's it still in the bag?" She shrugged, like it wasn't a big deal. "I forgot about it. I think I tried it on once when it came in. Just for laughs." I waited. "Didn't you say you didn't bring anything home from that trip? Just snacks and a shirt?" She hesitated again, just a flicker. Her eyes darted to the side for half a second. "Yeah. Well, I guess I forgot. You know how chaotic that weekend was." I nodded slowly, folding the bag closed and setting it on the bed. "Weird place to store it." She rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. "Okay. Seriously? Are you making this into a thing?" "I'm asking questions. About a joke gift from a bachelorette party?" She scoffed. "Come on, Nate. You sound paranoid. You really think I'd hide something like that if it meant anything? I didn't respond, because I wasn't sure what I thought yet. She looked annoyed now, like I was the one ruining the evening. Look, she said, her tone cooling. If it's that big a deal, toss it. I don't care. It's not like I wear that kind of stuff for real. Not for me, I wanted to say. Instead, I watched her as she turned and walked back toward the hallway, muttering something about finishing her emails. And that was that. No mention of who gave it to her. No proof it was a gag. No trace of humor in her eyes when she said it didn't matter. I stood there alone in the bedroom, the scent of that citrus detergent suddenly nauseating. I tried to shake it off. I really did. I went back to folding clothes, tried to focus on the hum of the TV and the soft clatter of her typing in the next room. But the feeling wouldn't leave, because something about that moment had changed everything. The bag, the lingerie, her reaction, none of it felt right. And even though I didn't know the full story yet, a quiet, painful thought started forming in the back of my mind. This wasn't just a joke. This was something real, and I had just accidentally uncovered the first piece of it. I didn't confront her again about the lingerie. Not directly. After she brushed it off with that lazy explanation, I could feel the weight shift between us. Like something unspoken was now living in the air. Something dense. She probably thought it was over, that she'd sidestepped it with humor and vague memories of a gag gift. But she underestimated one thing: I don't forget. The thing is, when you're with someone for years, you build a rhythm. You learn their habits without even trying. You notice the little things, how they stir their coffee, how they hum absent-mindedly when they're focused, how they lock their phone when they're lying. That last one, I noticed it 2 weeks later. It hit me one morning when she stepped into the shower. Usually, her phone would be charging on the nightstand or playing music through a speaker. But now it was with her. Not just near her. Literally on the bathroom counter, screen face down, locked. That's when I started paying closer attention. It wasn't just the phone. She had started coming home late. Not every night, but enough to make a pattern. There were late meetings and urgent deadlines that never used to exist before. Haley wasn't in finance or law. She worked in marketing for a mid-size firm, the kind of place where Friday at 5:01, everyone's out the door. But now, she'd roll in close to midnight, tired, distracted, with just enough irritation in her voice to make me feel like I was the one being unreasonable for noticing. "It was just a late review meeting, Nate," she'd say, brushing past me with her shoes in hand. "Can you not make this a thing?" But it became a thing. It became 1,000 things, actually. Things that, one by one, started to line up like they'd been waiting in formation. I hadn't seen it before, hadn't wanted to. But once you know where to look, the fog clears fast. Her perfume changed. Not all at once. Gradually. It used to be something soft, almost floral. But lately it had a sharper edge, muskier, heavier. The kind of scent you wear when you want to be noticed. When you want to leave an impression on someone's skin. And she'd stopped touching me. That one hurt in a quiet way I didn't know how to explain. We used to be affectionate. Not over the top, not clingy, but connected. She'd reach for my hand while watching TV. Brush against me in the kitchen. Kiss my neck when she passed behind me. It was easy. Unthinking. Now, nothing. We'd sit on the couch and she'd lean away. We'd lie in bed, and she'd stay turned to the wall. When I reached out, just to rest my hand on her back, she flinched like I'd startled her. It's a special kind of loneliness. Living with someone who used to love you out loud and now pretends not to hear you at all. But still, I told myself it was stress. That maybe work had just changed her. That people evolve and I needed to give her space. That I was being too sensitive. Then I found the receipt. I wasn't looking for it. Like the lingerie, it just showed up. It was tucked inside her coat pocket when I grabbed it from the laundry basket. A receipt from a boutique dress shop in the nicer part of town. The kind of place that offers champagne while you browse and requires appointments. The price alone made me blink. Nearly $500 for one dress. I'd never seen it before. When I asked her about it later, casually pretending like it was no big deal, she barely looked up from her phone. "Oh, I returned that," she said. Didn't fit right. I nodded, said nothing, and left it there. A week later, while scrolling Instagram during lunch, I saw the dress again. Not on Haley's account. She hadn't posted anything personal in weeks. No selfies, no couple photos, just infographics from work and a photo of her coffee from some artsy cafe. But one of her coworkers, someone I barely knew, had posted a group story from an industry mixer. I nearly scrolled past it until I saw the background. There was Haley, wearing the dress, laughing with a glass of wine in her hand. I wasn't in the photo. I wasn't invited. She had told me she had a client call that night and that she'd be home late. She never mentioned an event. Never said she was going out. The moment I saw that image, something inside me shifted. It's not just about the lying. It's the effort she was putting into the lie. She was dressing up, not just for work, not for me, but for someone. Taking the time to look perfect. Matching the lingerie to the perfume to the dress. All while pretending she was too busy or too tired or too stressed to touch me. I kept watching. After that, I started logging everything. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my brother, who's usually the first person I go to when things go sideways. I needed clarity before I spoke anything out loud. I needed the full picture. I started checking her calendar when she left it open. I noted the nights she stayed late. I watched her use Uber instead of driving. I saw the way she left in flats and came home in heels. How she changed her earrings between leaving the house and arriving back. Once, I saw a text notification pop up on her phone. Just a name E. No last name. The preview message read, "Same time tonight?" She picked it up fast, swiped it away, and said nothing. Just carried on talking about some team lunch she had to attend the next day. I didn't ask. I just watched. The house started feeling different. Quieter. Colder. Even when we were both in it. She moved through rooms like a visitor. Left dishes half-washed. Forgot to refill the coffee. Played music in her headphones instead of on the speakers like she used to. She was disappearing in pieces. And the more I looked, the more I saw. A credit card charge for a hotel bar. A Spotify playlist filled with romantic jazz songs. Nothing like her usual taste. A second gym bag that she kept in the trunk of her car, even though she hadn't mentioned going to the gym in weeks. There was also her attitude, subtle but sharp. Like every small question I asked was some kind of interrogation. Where were you? Became, why are you being weird? Who were you with? Became, do you not trust me? She started talking about boundaries, about needing space, about how relationships evolve. I just nodded and listened. I wasn't ready to fight. Not yet. I needed to be sure. And the deeper I went, the clearer it became. This wasn't a phase. It wasn't stress. It wasn't burnout or bad communication. This was a choice. Someone was in her life. I didn't know his name yet, but I knew his outline. I knew the kind of cologne he wore, the kind of drinks he bought her, the hotels they frequented, the restaurants she used to claim were too fancy for us that she now visited regularly on her own. I knew where she went when she said she was staying late. And I knew, beyond any doubt, that the woman sleeping in my bed each night was living a life I wasn't part of anymore. The silence between us had stopped being uncomfortable. It was now strategic. She wasn't hiding by accident. She was hiding on purpose. And I was done pretending not to see it. Everything had started forming a single, unbroken line. And it was all pointing away from me. There's a moment, a very specific kind, when your body knows something before your brain's ready to admit it. Like when you're home alone and you hear a noise that doesn't fit. Or when a friend smiles at you, but their eyes don't match. You feel it. That hair-raising, gut-sinking certainty. That's how I felt the night I followed Haley. It was a Tuesday, unremarkable to anyone else. But to me, everything about that day had a strange edge. She got up early, put extra time into her makeup, did her hair differently, waves not straight like usual. She wore that dark blue coat she rarely touched anymore, except for important meetings. I watched her from the kitchen table, pretending to scroll through my phone while she moved around the bedroom like someone in fast forward. The last thing she packed was her black clutch. She held it close, gently, like it had something fragile inside. I didn't have to guess. The lingerie was in there. That same set. The one she lied about, joked about, downplayed was now part of her evening. She kissed me on the cheek, quick and impersonal. "Don't wait up," she said, like it was a courtesy. "I'll probably be late. Meeting ran long last time too." "Be safe," I said. My voice sounded normal, calm, practiced. She smiled. That kind of half-curved, eyes-down smile people give when they're already thinking about something else. I waited 15 minutes after she left. Not enough time to seem obvious, but enough to avoid catching up with her too quickly. Then I grabbed my keys and followed. Her car wasn't hard to find. I knew her route well. I didn't need a tracker. I just followed the familiar turns and guessed right. She was moving across the city, away from downtown. Not toward her office. Not toward her favorite cafe. Toward the East End, the part of town with boutique hotels, rooftop lounges, and valet-only entrances. I stayed 2 blocks behind. Just far enough. She parked in an underground garage connected to a mid-sized hotel. Nothing flashy. Discreet. Clean white stone, black awnings. No franchise name on the front. Just a brass plaque. The Alcott. I pulled into a side street and waited. Watched. She got out of the car and adjusted her coat. Smoothed her hair in the side mirror. Reapplied her lipstick. Then she walked through the front entrance without hesitation. There was no looking around. No checking her phone. No texting me about a delay. No pretending. She was exactly where she intended to be. I watched the minutes tick by. 10, 15, 20. Then he appeared. A man, tall, slim, with a close-shaved beard and a long charcoal coat. I couldn't see much of his face, just his posture. Relaxed, confident, like he belonged there. He checked something at the desk, then headed toward the elevator. I don't know why I expected hesitation or awkwardness. There wasn't any. He didn't look lost or uncertain. He knew where he was going and who he was going to. And then, there she was again, coming back through the lobby toward him. Same coat, same perfect hair, same black clutch in hand. She smiled when she saw him. Not the way she smiled at me lately. Not the distracted, tired smile I'd been getting. This one lit up her whole face. She walked up to him and kissed him. Not on the cheek. Not a quick hello. A real kiss. The kind you lean into. The kind you give someone you miss. The kind you don't even know you're giving because it feels that natural. I remember my hands going still on the steering wheel. Just resting there. My heart wasn't racing. My jaw wasn't clenched. I wasn't even angry, not yet. I was just watching something break. They stood there for a moment, laughing quietly like people with secrets. Then they walked toward the elevator together. His arm slid easily around her waist. She didn't stop him. I stayed in the car for over 2 hours. Could have left. I could have driven home and pretended I never saw it. Could have tried to shake the image from my mind. But I didn't. I sat there, staring at the glass doors, imagining what was happening behind them. Not because I wanted to torture myself, but because I needed the full weight of it. I needed it to burn. When they came back down, the city was darker. She had changed, different earrings now. Her lipstick was faintly smudged, and she walked with a looser kind of posture, like someone freshly relaxed. He still had his arm around her. She leaned into him, smiling, her head tilted slightly toward his shoulder. They paused before leaving the lobby. He whispered something, and she laughed, covering her mouth like a teenager. She looked happy. That was the part that gutted me. She looked happy. And not just in the way you do when someone tells a joke. She looked alive in a way I hadn't seen in months. Years, maybe. And I realized I wasn't just watching a mistake. I was watching a relationship. She wasn't having an affair. She was building another life. They left the hotel and walked a few blocks together before parting. No dramatic goodbye. Just another kiss, brief and casual, like it was routine. Then she walked back to the garage, alone. I let her drive off first. Then I waited. I don't even remember how long. Long enough for the parking garage to empty. Long enough for the echo of what I saw to settle deep into me. The ride home felt colder. Not just in temperature but in tone. The house didn't feel like home anymore. I didn't know what to say when she returned, so I didn't say anything. She slipped inside around 12:30. Shoes in hand, coat still buttoned, hair slightly out of place. I was sitting on the couch, lights dim, pretending to watch something on mute. She looked surprised to see me awake. "You're up?" she said, almost startled. "Couldn't sleep." She nodded, said something about the meeting running late, then headed to the kitchen. I watched her pour a glass of water. She moved with the same precision she always had. Nothing nervous, nothing fumbled. She was practiced now. Smooth, efficient. She didn't notice that my eyes never left her. She didn't ask why I was quiet. She didn't notice the way my knuckles were white from gripping the blanket on my lap. I didn't ask her anything. There were no more guesses. No more half-truths to wrestle with. No more trying to decode her tone or parse her excuses. It was real. It had happened. She had chosen someone else. And I had seen it with my own eyes. I went to bed that night in silence. She came in later, slid under the covers like it was any other night, rolled away from me without a word. I stared at the ceiling for hours, listening to her soft breathing, wondering how long she had felt gone before she physically left the room. In the morning, she made coffee like usual, played the same podcast, wore her hair in a bun. But I saw the difference now. Every ordinary thing she did was just camouflage. She was already somewhere else, with someone else. She didn't even flinch when she lied anymore. That's when I knew this wasn't a detour. This was her exit. And I was just now seeing the signs she had posted months ago. After that night, things shifted inside me. Not outwardly, not yet. On the surface, everything looked the same. I still said good morning, still made coffee, still asked how her day was going. She still answered with that tired, distracted smile. She thought I believed her, that I had either stopped caring or still hadn't connected the dots. But I had connected them, and I wasn't done. I didn't lash out. I didn't accuse. That would have given her something to react to, something to twist. Instead, I watched, quietly, closely, because once you see the truth, you start wondering how deep it goes. And what I saw at that hotel, it wasn't just about another man. It was about a double life. And I had a feeling the emotional part wasn't the only thing she'd been hiding. The first real clue came when I checked our joint account. It was around midnight. She was asleep or pretending to be. I logged in from my laptop, intending to check for anything out of place. Maybe a hotel charge she forgot to hide or a dinner she paid for twice. What I found was more than that. A transfer. A large one. $5,000, sent out 2 weeks ago to an account under a different name. One I didn't recognize. I clicked through to the details. The recipient was listed as Welton Creative Consulting. Sounded legitimate, bland enough to pass as a freelance vendor or contractor. I almost brushed it off, until I noticed that it was categorized as a recurring monthly payment. A business subscription, funded through our account. But I never approved it. I never set it up. I checked our banking history again, scrolled further back. Turns out it had been happening for 4 months. Same amount. Same vendor. No invoice attached. I dug deeper. The business address listed matched a location I knew. A co-working space downtown. The kind with floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist decor. I'd walked by it before. The kind of place people rent to look official when they need to impress someone. The more I looked, the stranger it got. Haley had mentioned nothing about starting a side project or hiring consultants. She didn't freelance. She wasn't building anything, at least not as far as I knew. But then I pulled her name through the Secretary of State's online business registry. Just a random late-night Hail Mary. And there it was. A business license. Registered under her name. 6 months ago. HC Strategies, LLC. The listed business purpose? Marketing consultation. The kicker? My name was also listed. As the co-founder. I stared at the screen like it was lying to me. I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't even heard of it. But somehow the digital records showed my full name, signature, and ID number. Clear as day. Legally, I was tied to it. I downloaded every file I could find. pulled PDFs of the application, the tax ID registration, and some vague quarterly reports, all written in the same templated language. There were even bank statements tied to a separate business checking account, and those were far more telling, because someone was actively moving money through this fake company. Not a lot, just enough to stay below the radar. 4-figure deposits followed by smaller withdrawals. Some of those withdrawals went to E. Langston. And that name hit me like a punch. I didn't know him personally, but I'd seen it once before. On that phone notification. The E from the same time tonight? Text. I double-checked the signature on the LLC application. It wasn't mine. It looked like mine, but it wasn't. A close forgery enough to fool digital filings. She had faked my approval, used my details, created a fake business that included me just to run money through it. For what? That question kept me up for nights. Until I found the apartment. It started with a simple instinct to Google the business address from one of the statements. The most recent one wasn't the co-working space. It was a residential building, an upscale rental complex in the same part of the city as the hotel she visited. I browsed their website. Modern kitchens, concierge service, skyline views. Rent started at $3,200 a month. Every unit came fully furnished, designed for long-stay professionals. The kind of place someone would use to disappear from their real life without disappearing completely. I checked the leasing office the next day, anonymously. Told them I was inquiring about a unit my wife might have leased without my knowledge. I expected them to hang up. Instead, they asked for the name on the lease. I gave it, and they confirmed it. Haley Langston. Lease signed 5 months ago. Still active. Same building. Different world. She had a second life now. A fully separate space. And she was paying for it. Not with her own money, but with ours. With mine. Couldn't breathe. It felt like I'd fallen through some hidden trapdoor in my marriage and landed in a place where I didn't exist, except as a bank account and a forged signature. She wasn't just lying to me. She was building something else. With someone else. And I was helping fund it. Every birthday gift I bought her. Every dinner I paid for. Every "we're fine" conversation I believed in, it was all fuel. Fuel for the life she actually wanted, with the man she was really giving herself to. That realization, it did something to me. I stopped looking for love in her face after that. I stopped searching for answers in her tone or trying to interpret her silences. I knew the answers now. I knew what she was capable of. Because this wasn't about a mistake anymore. This wasn't a lapse in judgment or a lonely stretch of marriage. This was theft. She stole my trust, my time, my resources, my name. She had lied in spreadsheets, forged state documents, used my financial identity like it was a costume she could wear when it suited her. And somehow, she still had the nerve to come home and smile, still wore my ring, still let me carry groceries into a house that wasn't ours anymore. We were roommates now. Not even that. We were business partners. But only on paper. You'd think this would have been the part where I exploded. Some yelling match in the living room. A slammed door. Accusations. Rage. But no. When the truth finally solidified, when I knew without a shred of doubt that Haley had built an entire second life using me as scaffolding, I didn't shout. I shut down. Not emotionally. Strategically. Something inside me clicked. A colder version of myself. One I didn't even know I had. Stepped forward and took the wheel. Because this wasn't about heartbreak anymore. This was about survival. I started by making copies. Dozens of them. All the files I had downloaded, the bank statements, the LLC application, the fake consulting invoices. I printed them out and backed them up to an encrypted drive. I uploaded everything to a private cloud account and added a passcode only I knew. Then I emailed it to myself from a dummy address, with a time-stamped note explaining exactly what it was. Next, I photographed the apartment lease from the building's website and took **TS of their confirmation email. I logged into our joint account again and marked every suspicious transaction in a spreadsheet. I cross-referenced it with her known schedule and noted the days she worked late that lined up with charges to the boutique hotel or the rental apartment's digital access system. She never locked her laptop. I started checking it when she was in the shower. Quietly, carefully. She had an entire folder of invoices for the fake company. Some were sent to real businesses. Most were blank templates filled in with dummy data. She'd been using them to justify the transfers. I wasn't just being cheated on. I was being laundered through. I called a lawyer next. Not the kind you see on TV commercials, not the loud ones. I found someone discreet, professional, and quietly lethal. His name was Paul. Gray hair, sharp suits, and the kind of deadpan voice that let you know he didn't get surprised often. I sat across from him in his office with a folder full of documents on my lap and a knot in my chest that hadn't loosened in weeks. I don't know how far this goes, I told him. But it's not just infidelity. It's identity misuse, financial fraud, and maybe more. He didn't blink, just opened the folder and started reading. He let out a low breath through his nose when he reached the signature page of the LLC form. "This is not small," he said. "I know." We talked for over 2 hours. He asked for access to the accounts, copies of the documents, and written notes about everything I'd observed. Dates, behaviors, inconsistencies. He told me not to confront her. Not yet. Let her think she still has control, he said. It's the only way you'll regain yours. So I played along. I came home each night like nothing was wrong. Kissed her cheek. Asked how work was. She offered vague replies about clients and deadlines and team dinners. I nodded and smiled. I let her believe she was fooling me, that I was still asleep. But inside, I was cataloging everything. I closed the joint account silently, rerouting my paycheck to a separate bank I'd set up months before. One she didn't know about. I froze our shared credit card and said it was due to fraud alerts. She barely blinked. I started moving personal items out of the house. Slowly. A favorite jacket here. Some hard drives there. Important documents hidden in the bottom of a suitcase. She didn't notice. Or maybe she didn't care. Each night, I sat in bed beside her, watching her scroll through her phone, smile at a screen that never lit up with my name. I stopped wondering what she was thinking. I already knew. I found an Airbnb across town, booked it under a pseudonym. Small, clean, quiet. Not somewhere she'd ever think to look. I stocked it with essentials. Clothes, food, cash, and a second copy of all the documentation. I had it ready like a fire escape. A second life of my own, built not for betrayal but for exit. Then came the final move. With Paul's help, I submitted a formal request to the state to investigate the business license. Not as a criminal complaint, yet, but as a flagged concern regarding fraudulent use of identity. Quiet, paper trail. No drama. I also had Paul prepare divorce papers. Not generic ones. Surgical. Every documented instance of financial misuse was included. Every bank transfer. Every forged file. He'd even managed to get a forensic analyst to confirm that the signature on the LLC was not a match to my verified digital signature. Enough to suggest fraud. We included a motion to freeze all marital assets, pending investigation. He warned me it would be a brutal process, but that I'd already done the hardest part. "You didn't panic," he said. "That's rare." I just nodded, because I couldn't afford to panic. The night before I left, I stood in the kitchen while she laughed softly on the phone in the other room. Probably him. The man I'd seen her kiss. The man she was building a life with while wearing my ring. I opened a drawer and found a photo strip from a trip we took to the coast 3 years ago. We looked so happy. I almost didn't recognize myself. My arms around her waist, her head on my shoulder. I stared at it for a long time. Then I left it there, along with a manila folder. Inside the folder were copies of everything. The bank statements, the apartment lease, the forged business documents, a printed screenshot *T of her text thread with E. Langston. Her signature on the LLC beside the forged version of mine. On top, a sticky note. "I know. Check with Paul Miller. You've been served." I didn't leave a note saying goodbye. I didn't pack in front of her or slam any doors. I just walked out that night, climbed into my car, and drove across town to the Airbnb. When she came home the next day, she found the house quiet. No keys in the bowl. No shoes by the door. No jacket on the hook. Just a folder on the dining table and silence. She called me, of course. 6 missed calls. 3 texts. All versions of the same thing. Where are you? What is this? We need to talk. I didn't respond. She didn't deserve a conversation. What she deserved was a mirror. And I just handed it to her. She knocked just after 8 a.m. No more perfect makeup. No more curated excuses. She stood at the door of my temporary place in the same dark blue coat. Wrinkled now, her face pale, her eyes wide with panic. Nate? Can we talk? I didn't invite her in. She'd found the folder. She'd called the lawyer. She understood. Her voice cracked as she asked if this was really happening. I told her calmly, "It's already done. The accounts are frozen. The papers are filed. The investigations beg *N. She didn't argue. She just looked at me, really looked at me, and realized I wasn't bluffing. There was nothing to fix. No lie left to hide behind. She broke down on the spot. But not out of love. Out of fear. And I didn't comfort her. I watched, because that was the first honest reaction I'd seen from her in months. A week later, I returned to gather the rest of my things. She was already gone. But on the bed, perfectly laid out, was the red lingerie set. Next to it, a framed photo of us from years ago. We were laughing, arms wrapped around each other, unaware of what was coming. It wasn't a plea. It was her quiet way of saying sorry. But it didn't matter anymore. Whatever version of her that once loved me had vanished long before I stepped out of that car at the hotel. Now all that remained was silence. And my freedom, paid for in full.